I'm currently riding in a sleek, black luxury car. I never thought I would be in a car like this. My life has always been about working tirelessly at a small company, coming home late to an empty house, and collapsing into bed. I'm the kind of person who never bothers anyone and never helps anyone, just existing vaguely. And yet, here I am, wearing a brand new suit, sitting next to a young lady in a luxury car. Who would believe it? "We'll be arriving soon," said the male attendant, driving the car. My whole body felt the rush of blood from the tension. How did I end up in this situation? It all started a few days ago. "James, once you're done with that, take care of these two." With a loud thud, a pile of brochures was dumped on my desk. There was an unacceptable typo in the brochures our company had printed. We had to manually correct it with stickers, and I had just finished my own quota. My boss, David, who left the brochures on my desk, swiftly left for home. I couldn't even complain, just opened the brochures and started sticking on the correction labels. When I finally finished and looked at the clock, it was 11 p.m. Exhausted, I bought some water and dinner from a convenience store, and sat on a bench in a nearby park with a sigh. My name is James. I'm a struggling office worker at a small company. Every day I work myself to the bone, and on weekends, I'm too drained to go out, just lying in bed. Before I knew it, I was 30 years old. If only I had someone waiting for me at home. I stared blankly at the lights of a big apartment building across from me. In my student days, I vaguely thought I would meet someone at work, go out, and get married. But reality is very different. The women at my workplace are mostly older and already married, and the few female colleagues my age have boyfriends. And I hardly ever interact with the female staff. Dating, let alone marriage, seems impossible. I'm too busy to even think about dating events. Is this all my life will be, just working? A resigned laugh slipped out of my mouth. Staying here any longer would just make me more miserable, so I decided to go home. Just as I stood up, I heard irregular footsteps coming from the park entrance. A ghost? No, a suspicious person? I braced myself, and a shabby woman entered the park. She had long, messy hair and wore a white dress that looked like pajamas, stained with dirt. She wobbled towards the water fountain in the center of the park, wearing tattered slippers. I could only watch in fear and surprise. Just as she reached the fountain, she collapsed before she could drink. "Hey, are you okay?" I called out and rushed over to her. She seemed conscious but very weak. Thinking she was thirsty, I opened my bottle of mineral water and offered it to her. She drank about half of it in one go before lying down again. She was breathing heavily, so I immediately called an ambulance. "I've called an ambulance. Just hang on a bit longer," I said, and she nodded yes slightly. Seeing her clothes up closer, they were even dirtier. She must have run away from home and ended up homeless. With no belongings, she must have been wandering for days. After a while, the paramedics arrived, and I felt relieved, ready to go home. But then, one of the paramedics said, "We need you to come with us. My work tomorrow won't start until the afternoon." So, reluctantly, I decided to get into the ambulance. It seems she hasn't eaten anything. She had hypoglycemia and was also dehydrated. The doctor explained after examining the woman when we arrived at the hospital. Her staggering and collapse were caused by that. It was already past midnight. I had come to a nearby emergency hospital by ambulance from the park. I wouldn't make the last train, and getting home would take a long time. I decided I might as well stay at a nearby hotel. Thinking that, I headed to the room where she stayed to say goodbye. She opened her eyes when she saw me. "How are you feeling?" "Much better after the IV. Could I ask your name?" I was surprised by her polite tone, considering her appearance. I gave a brief introduction. Her name was Emily. "Thank you so much. I don't know how to repay you. I don't have any money right now." Emily thanked me in a tearful voice. She seemed to feel guilty that I had paid for her hospital bill. But honestly, I didn't mind. I don't have much to spend on myself anyway. It's fine. It wasn't much. Besides, I'm single and most of my salary goes into savings. I don't have any hobbies. so I was at a loss on how to spend it. It's kind of boring, I said with a self-deprecating laugh. Yes, money I don't use is better spent helping someone. Thank you so much. I can't believe someone as kind as you would help me. You're the first kind person I've met since becoming homeless, Emily murmured. Seeing her, I could tell she had a deep reason for ending up homeless. It's been a while since I slept in a soft bed, Emily said with a relieved sigh and a smile. Where do you usually sleep? On the benches at parks. Some are slanted and fit my body better for sleeping. Oh, a slanted bench? How did you manage with food? I remembered the doctor's words, she hadn't eaten anything, and asked a question. To collapse from not eating must have meant she went through a really tough time. In the city, kind people sometimes gave me snacks or sandwiches, but often they wanted something in return or made fun of me, so I stopped going. I haven't eaten much for the past 4 days, Emily said, patting her stomach. Even with the IV, her stomach must have been empty and painful. That must have been tough. What will you do now? The doctor said I can leave after the IV. But since it's late, I'll stay until morning and leave after checking my condition. That's good. Please rest well in the bed, Emily. I'll be going now. I was worried about her, but I didn't want to bother her, so I started to leave. As I turned around to leave, Emily said, "Wait, please. Could we meet again tomorrow? It's been so long since I talked to someone, and I'd love to talk more." Surprised by her unexpected request, I couldn't speak for a moment. Then I remembered my work didn't start until the afternoon tomorrow. I'm free in the morning, I said. Emily looked at the clock, surprised. It was almost 1 a.m. Realizing the date had changed, she smiled and said, "You're right." Despite her shabby appearance, she had a lovely smile. Then I'll wait in front of the hospital at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you for today, good night, Emily said as she waved. I left the hospital and stayed at a hotel nearby. Due to my nerves, I didn't sleep well and soon found myself greeting the morning. When I arrived at the hospital at the appointed time, Emily was already waiting for me. Her clothes looked clean, likely thanks to being washed. We sat on a bench in the hospital garden and chatted for a while. How about we go get something to eat? Maybe some soup? It's on me. When I suggested this, Emily shook her head vigorously. No, that's too much. Besides, I haven't had a proper bath in a while. I would just inconvenience you and others. I wanted to feed her something gentle on the stomach, but forcing her wasn't right. So, we decided to buy food from a nearby convenience store instead. Emily's eyes sparkled at the sight of the food. I feel like I could eat all of this right now. Go ahead and eat as much as you want. But chew well and eat slowly. Thank you, really. Emily ate mindlessly. But she didn't eat ravenously, there was an air of elegance about her. I wondered if she came from a good background. If you don't mind me asking, why are you homeless? Emily's hands paused. She swallowed her food and began speaking with a sad expression. I had a fight with my parents and left home. I'm really useless, aren't I? I'm already 25 and still. I don't know what the fight was about, but you're not useless, Emily. Leaving home took a lot of courage. Emily looked at me with wide eyes, then laughed as if amused. James, you say funny things. There's nothing remarkable about leaving home. Her smile made me smile too. I felt I should explain myself. You left because something was bothering you, right? Standing up for yourself is important. I think that's amazing. I can never say no to my boss. Even when extra work gets dumped on me. Emily listened quietly. Maybe she understood what I was getting at. As adults, it's hard to stand up for ourselves. It's important to care for others, but more important to care for yourself. So, I don't think you're useless at all. You think so? I'm not useless. Emily smiled slightly, tears streaming down her face. I'm sure your parents got your message. If you've been away long, maybe it's time to talk to them again. They must be worried. She nodded silently, whispering, "Thank you." We spent some more time talking about trivial things, and time flew by. Here's my address. I handed her a small torn piece of paper with my address and some money. If you have nowhere to go, you can stay at my place. You can take a bath and there's food in the fridge. I'll be at work, so you can relax. The key is in the mailbox. Emily hesitantly took the note, thanked me deeply. Thank you for your kindness. But talking with you helped me make up my mind. Her smile was clear and calm. Her smile made my heart race. I'm glad I could help. If we ever get the chance, let's meet again. We said our goodbyes in the hospital garden. Whether it was from helping someone or seeing Emily's beautiful smile, I felt great. My usual heavy steps to work felt light that day, and I went to work in a good mood. A surprising change came to my life 3 days later. It was a Saturday, typically spent tired and aimlessly drifting through the day. Suddenly, the intercom rang. Did I order something? With my hair still messy, I answered the door, saying, "Hello," and found a well-dressed man in a suit standing there. Is this James's residence? He asked politely. Not understanding what was happening, I simply replied, yes. The young lady would like to speak with you. She's waiting in the car. Would you please come with us? A young lady? Had I gotten involved with some dangerous organization? Who could this be? While I stood there confused, the man spoke again. Did you call an ambulance a while back? It's about the woman you helped. Do you mean Emily? The man replied, yes. Seeing my surprise, he continued. Depending on the situation, you might receive $100 million. What? I blurted out. Well, the young lady will explain everything herself. Could you please come to the car? But I'm just in my loungewear and my hair is messy. Can I take a moment to get ready? Don't worry. Just as you didn't laugh at her shabby appearance, she won't laugh at yours. Also, we have a suit and everything else prepared for you. A suit? Why? Please, just come with us. The young lady is waiting. Without understanding the situation, I followed the man. A sleek black luxury car was parked downstairs, and the man opened the back door, saying, please. There was Emily inside. I felt embarrassed about my appearance, but Emily smiled warmly when she saw me. I hesitantly got into the car, but it didn't move right away. Sorry for surprising you. Emily said apologetically, her voice firm. Her hair was shiny, and her skin was clear and healthy. She was wearing a simple yet elegant crimson dress instead of the tattered white one. No, I'm just really surprised. It's been a while. Sorry about my appearance, I said, awkwardly trying to smooth my hair. Emily shook her head gently. I wanted to thank you properly. When I met you, I had been on the run for a week. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there. Anyone would have helped. I just happened to be there. It was really fortunate you were there. Otherwise, I might have been collapsed there until morning. And more than anything, it was your words that truly saved me. What do you mean? I asked, and Emily looked down slightly before slowly starting to tell her story. I was born into a wealthy family. But for me, that life was very suffocating. As it turned out, she was indeed a young lady of high standing, and she had been undergoing rigorous training to become a perfect bride. Cooking, cleaning, manners. It was tough, but I resigned myself to it because of my family. But I couldn't hang out with friends or fall in love. Just working hard to become a good wife exhausted me. She managed to endure it with the belief that it would benefit her in the future, but then her father said something unexpected. He said, now you can marry into that family. Emily's father had chosen a husband for her without her consent. That one sentence crushed me. I wanted to choose my marriage partner at the very least. I pleaded with my father, but he wouldn't listen. So I ran away in shock. That day, Emily had referred to her reason for running away as a fight. But the weight of that fight was much heavier than I had imagined. I just listened silently as she continued. I ran away, but I didn't bring my wallet or anything, so I ended up sleeping at the park every day. I knew running away wouldn't solve anything. And I felt like such an idiot. I was a wreck, both physically and emotionally. Emily turned to me, took my hand, and said, "But James, you reassured me, saying I wasn't worthless even in my shabby state." For someone who had dedicated herself to bridal training, what she craved most was affirmation. I wanted to use the skills I acquired from all that training for a wonderful person like you. If I have to marry someone I don't know, I'd rather be with you, who saw me without prejudice and treated me kindly. As she spoke, my heart began to race. Taking a deep breath, Emily looked at me with a serious expression. "Will you date me with the intention of marriage?" I stood there, forgetting about my disheveled hair and shabby loungewear, and just absorbed her words in astonishment. The truth is, I hadn't been able to get her out of my mind these past few days. It wasn't just because of our unusual encounter, I had never seen anyone smile as beautifully as she did. "Yes, if you're okay with someone like me," I found myself answering. Emily's face lit up with a radiant smile. I think I might have fallen in love at first sight. As I was pondering this, the car started moving. "Now that I know your feelings, we're heading to the hotel," said the man who I presumed was Emily's attendant as he drove the car. "The hotel? Isn't this a bit fast?" I exclaimed, panicked, but the man calmly replied, "The gentleman is waiting for us at the hotel. We're going there to greet him. But first, we'll stop by a clothing store to get you changed." In the luxurious car with its fantastic ride, I felt exhilarated by the surreal situation, but also incredibly nervous, making my head spin. "Your father wants you to marry someone he chose, right? Will he approve of me?" I asked nervously. Emily showed a determined look. "He said he'd approve if the person is truly good." I gulped. My confidence started to waver. Seeing this, Emily took a deep breath and continued, "Don't worry. You're a good person. You were so kind to a homeless woman like me." Her bright smile was the only thing keeping me from collapsing under the pressure. The car stopped in front of a hotel in the mountains. As I got out of the car and looked up at the hotel, I was amazed. It was a luxury hotel that everyone knew. Apparently, Emily was the daughter of the hotel tycoon. As we were about to enter the hotel with Emily and the attendant, a man approached us from the front. Emily called out, "Dad." I straightened up instinctively. Her father, whom she addressed, was a stylish gentleman with an imposing presence. He frowned when he saw my nervousness. Understandably, he'd be hesitant to leave his daughter with someone like me. Or maybe the suit they got for me didn't suit me. "Stop frowning like that. It's thanks to him that I decided to face you." Emily broke the ice, giving me the courage to greet her father. "It's true that we just met and don't know much about each other yet. But I'm determined to get to know her better and eventually make her happy. So, please allow us to date. I understand, which is why I came to pick you up. Come in." Emily's father, known as the hotel tycoon, said with authority, and led us to a VIP lounge. It was a shock when Emily left. It was the first time she ever defied me. Finding her when she went missing was a real struggle. I never imagined she'd be sleeping at a park. Although Emily was missing, he couldn't publicize it due to his high-profile status. There was a risk of her being kidnapped for ransom. They couldn't spread the word online, or broadcast it on TV. But one day, Emily came back on her own. She said she was moved by meeting someone. And that someone is you, whom she met for just 1 or 2 days. However, I don't know you well enough to fully accept you yet. He had a point. There aren't many parents who would allow their daughter, who's never been in love, to marry a man she's just met. I looked down. But, James, I trust Emily's judgment, so I will allow you to date her. Show me your dedication to Emily. Move my heart as you moved hers. I lifted my head. Do you have the resolve to become my son-in-law? You might need to leave your current job and join us in managing the hotel business. I had already made up my mind. I'd been considering quitting my current shitty company anyway. I answered immediately. Of course. I'm ready and willing to do that. Hearing this, her father seemed satisfied and said, "Good, then it's agreed." Then he suggested we have a meal, and I was led by the attendant to the VIP dining room. On the way, I asked the attendant about something that had been on my mind. Before we came here, you mentioned something about possibly receiving $100 million. Was that just a way to get me into the car? The attendant quickly denied it. Not at all. This family actually has assets worth $100 million. If you marry into this family, those assets will eventually become yours. All I could manage was a stunned, really? If you're surprised by just $100 million, you might be in trouble. There will be even more in the future. The hotel tycoon patted me on the shoulder, having appeared from who knows where. Behind him, I heard Emily's soft laugh. Her happy laughter made me smile too. I vowed in my heart to make her happy no matter what happens in the future.